We need to get real about something. Shopping is not fun, especially clothes shopping. I hate going into a dressing room with 1,000,001 things hanging over my arm to try on. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's so annoying having to get in and out of all of these different items just to try them on. The mirror, that's a whole nother story. They're awful. And I end up, and I know you do too, liking nothing. Something's gotta give, and this is where Stitch Fix comes in. Stitch Fix makes clothes shopping so much easier. You get a personal stylist that sends you pieces that match your size, style, and everything's in your budget. No guesswork, no stress. Here's how it works. You take a quick style quiz, you share your size, your style and budget, and you get matched with a real human stylist who catches your vibe. It's no risk, all style. Get a personalized Fix box straight to your door and try it all on in the comfort of your home. Shipping and returns are always free, and there's no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Welcome back to Unscripted, your favorite Monday podcast. I'm Paige.
And I'm Natalie. Thanks for being here. And if you hear a little noises in the background, it's the baby. Can it help it? Go with mom. Going to work with mom day.
He's basically our mascot, and I'm here for it. I don't want to say I'm excited because I feel like I say that at the top of every episode of Unscripted because I get so excited to talk to you and to our listeners about all of these things that we talk about. But I am excited to talk about this because I have felt almost like this urgency to talk about it because, number one, it is absolutely insane, but also TikTok's popping off about it. Instagram's popping off about it. I'm getting
Our
reels.
text messages are popping off.
Our text messages are popping off about this documentary. I'm getting reels from friends that have watched it, that know that I have watched it. And that's because a lot of these TikToks and reels are very big spoiler to the documentary we're going to talk about. So if you haven't watched it, we don't want you getting a spoiler from our episode. If you haven't already gotten a spoiler from TikTok or Instagram Reels, we don't want to be that spoiler for you. So make sure you pause it here and then come back to us after an hour and a half when you've watched this documentary, Unknown Number, The High School Catfish on Netflix.
So let's give you a brief overview. Imagine being 13, getting flooded with dozens of threatening anonymous texts every day, like 50 to 70 text messages every day. And having no idea who's behind it, but knowing it's obviously someone close because they know so much about you. This is a true crime story that really starts as a mystery and then it spirals into something that's way more disturbing than anyone would have expected.
We start with a young girl, Lauren, who is around 14 at the time this is going on. And you have her boyfriend, who's been her boyfriend for a little while, and she's known for a really long time because they attend this school in Michigan. In this documentary, we begin to learn about Lauren and her boyfriend, Owen. They're teenagers around 14 years old when all of this is happening. They have known each other for a really long time, though, and they've been dating for a little while, too, but they've known each other even longer because they grew up in this town in Michigan that is so small that there's literally like one public school that is kindergarten through 12th grade. Now, of course, there's different offices and stuff for the different grades and school levels, but it's still one school, one campus. There's like 30 kids in a grade. It's really, really small town America. Like actually probably smaller than small town. Like I would call that rural.
Right. I was going to say, to hammer it home, they have one street light in Beale City. So I feel like that is eye-opening to how small this area is. And I did read an article from The Cut about this case, and they start the article just describing how small town America this place is.
Mhm.
And I do want to highlight how everyone knows everyone. And so if you're from Beale City, like people have known you, like you said, you went to school with people from like preschool to all the way through high school. And so it's not just the students that are in class now that have known each other all their lives, but their parents have known each other all their lives. And so when you're a transplant, it's very obvious because you don't have that history with everyone.
Exactly. It kind of reminds me of this game I'm playing called Wildflowers. I'm a little
Not
bit
an ad, by the way.
No, but please sponsor us because I love this game. It's kind of like that. It's this small town that you return to for your grandma. And all these people have that history there. So, right, if you don't have that history with Beale City, you're going to stand out. But all that to say, too, when something like this is going on, it's kind of like this domino or trickle down effect where it was affecting everybody. What ended up happening, which is that Lauren, who again was very much involved with this boyfriend at this time, I think they started dating in like 7th grade. And she would go to sports games with him and everything like that. And well, not with him, but to watch him. And it was just, they were very involved. And it was probably like small town serious, even though they were so young because of the proximity.
Well, I heard that Owen's parents actually also started dating in 7th grade. So
Mhm.
whether or not this couple was going to last, who knows? But there is that mentality of, young, serious couples in this environment.
Right. It's not uncommon in small towns or rural areas to start dating young, never leave that small town, and marry that quote high school sweetheart, or in this case, middle school sweetheart. I mean, they even traveled to Florida to watch him play his sport. Was it football? How much did
Basketball?
they specify? Basketball. It was basketball.
Or he also played baseball, but
He probably played a lot of them because there's only 30 students.
30 students in the entire class.
Yeah.
They were also referred to as the golden couple, or like the perfect couple.
Mhm.
And they were seen as an established couple amongst their peers.
Mm-hmm. Again, traveling to go see the boyfriend play his sports and the families being involved in that way, where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm going to pack up and I'm going to take my 13, 14-year-old to Florida, for example, as the Cut article discusses, to go watch him play. That's a big trip from Michigan to Florida. That's a lot of money and time and investment. So again, you could see how intertwined these two families were also becoming because their children were dating and because they all grew up around the same time in the same area too. So they've probably known each other for decades by now.
Well, not well. I did find out that Lauren's father grew up in Beale City and then he left to go to college. And that's where he met Lauren's mom. So Kendra, Lauren's mom, isn't a local to Beale City, but she is a transplant. And so I could kind of see her wanting to take the family. Lauren's an only child, wanting to take the family to go watch the boyfriend in Florida as a way to ingratiate herself with other members of the community. She doesn't know anyone she doesn't have the history with these people the way everyone else does. So if she could build these memories with another family, why not do it? It would help cement her in the community.
Right. I mean, she's probably been trying for a while by that time, because if you think about the kids being 13, it's probably been over a decade that they have been together and married. But still, when it's that tight knit of a community, it's got to be that much harder to fit in or to not feel like the outsider. And truly, how long does it take before another transplant comes in where you're not
the newbie anymore?
In a community like that, you might be a newbie for the rest of your life in the eyes of people who have been there their entire lives, you know?
Well, and how many people are moving to a small town with one street light?
Exactly.
So, like you're saying, she could be the newest person there.
And it's not that it's bad. A lot of people really appreciate that lifestyle. It's just the idea of, is a job going to pull somebody there? Is they're going to be industry moving there? Like, no. So it's going to take a lot longer for people to be able to do that, especially, you know, when this is a little bit before, right during COVID era. So 2020, 2021-ish. And so, you know, there wasn't as many people working from home and things like that would be moving to Beale City yet. But that would be obviously coming as a result of COVID. But so that's also why it's really strange when Lauren starts getting text messages that are just really awful. And I feel like that's an understatement. Vile. I knew my girl was going to have a much better word than awful. Vile. They are horrific. They are saying things about her and Owen and how Owen hates her. He wants to be with me instead. You're anorexic. Just really vile things.
These text messages started around Halloween in 2020 when a local family was hosting their annual Halloween party. I guess Owen and his family were invited, but Lauren and her family weren't. I don't know why they weren't, but it was very obvious that Lauren didn't have an invite. So she was going to be attending with Owen. And that's when the text messages started coming in. And they were attacking not only Lauren, but her relationship with Owen and trying to put a wedge between them.
The first text comes October 2020, around Halloween time. It's just before Halloween. And she gets this text, "Hi, Lauren, Owen is breaking up with you." And there were even more texts during this time too. And one of them is, "He no longer likes you and hasn't liked you for a while. It's obvious he wants me." So again, really trying to insert themselves in Lauren and Owen's relationship, kind of trying to drive that wedge.
And the anonymous texter does send this in a group text. So it's Lauren, Owen, and the anonymous texter. They don't know whose number it is. They don't recognize it. They try and find out it's not a number that anyone is familiar with.
That to me is just a really interesting part, because this texter, who you will find out who it is. So again, if you don't want spoilers, pause, go watch, and come back and listen. It's interesting to me because I feel like at this point they were trying to make it look like Owen was in on it or something. And that's kind of what I was picking up on. Like, obviously he wasn't, and he wanted very much to be with Lauren at this time. But like, by making it a group message, it's almost like, okay, no, fine, I'll add you and we'll text her together saying you don't want to be with her.
Reminiscent of three-way calls back in our millennial days growing up in junior high. How many times were you an unknown recipient of a three-way call until something was said, and then the third person on the phone line would speak up, and you'd find out, oh, they just got me to say something to this person. So that's kind of what it reminds me of, except it's a little bit more transparent. Hey, all three of us are in the text message, but this anonymous caller or anonymous texter is the one sending the message.
This is reminding me of when I was Lauren's age, that she was here in 2020, that my best friend and I used to use 2 mobile phones in her house, and one of them had a mute button. So one of us would be on the phone with like our boyfriend or like a friend, and the other one would be on the phone with the mute button, and they could listen. Or obviously we would just like talk to somebody together that way. So it's just like really giving me some nostalgia when you talk about like the 3-way calls and all of that stuff. And that's just the type of stuff that Lauren and Owen should be enjoying at this time, right? Not this whole idea of being attacked in text messages. It's weird. It's creepy, especially, again, considering how small this town is. Like, who is this? Because they're almost positive that they know who it is. And they do know who it is, but they already know they somehow will know who this is because it's such a small town.
Right. And I was going to say what you and your friend were doing was much more innocent. No one
Absolutely
was intended to be getting hurt. There wasn't vile messages sent back and forth. You were just being nosy.
We're being nosy.
Honest. That's why people were doing that, right? This person was being malicious, and they wanted both Lauren and Owen to know.
Truth. And ours was more inclusive. We were including each other on a conversation, like, and this was early on, sort of making light fun of like your little boyfriend. Like, oh my gosh, you have to hear him like while he's playing video games when he talks to me, like it just listen. And so we would just like do that, or like, let's make him get on his bike and like bring us, like food or whatever. So we just, it was more inclusive of each other than this is, right? I don't want to call it exclusive because that's not the right word either. This is malicious in nature, and it's to tear them apart. Nobody's including anybody in that scenario. But it did kind of remind me when you were talking about three-way calls. But at least they ended for a little bit, these text messages. So they get a bit of a break after this October scenario. And it is a short burst.
And then almost a year later, 11 months in September 2021, these text messages start up again. And they don't just start up one at a time. It's a barrage of text messages that start coming in that September. Text messages like, "You're the ugliest person I've ever seen. Ain't no one want to see your anorexic flat ass. He wants sex." And they also go so far as telling Lauren to kill herself with text messages like, "Kill yourself, bitch," or "His life would be better if you were dead."
And if you can believe, more. That's just as vile, if not worse. And we all know when somebody is acting like this, if you ignore it or you kind of just let time go on, you don't do anything, it ramps up, it escalates. And these text messages really did continue to escalate or just be this vile.
Right. I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. Hey everyone, it's Natalie. And if you're anything like me and Paige, you need a way to unwind after diving into all of the heavy cases we cover every week. And lately, I've found the perfect escape. It's a mobile game called Scatter Slots, and I've honestly been loving it. Now I know what you're thinking, another slot game, but this one is completely different. Scatter Slots blends dark fantasy, rich storytelling, and gorgeous visuals to create an experience that feels way more like an adventure than a typical game. You play through a map, unlocking these really detailed slot worlds along the way, and each one has its own theme and vibe. And don't get me started on the graphics. So beautiful. I actually caught myself turning the volume up just to hear the music and sound effects. It's that immersive. It's also super easy to jump in and play for a few minutes, whether you're on your lunch break, waiting to pick up the kids, or just need a moment to yourself after a long day. And yes, I did win a mini jackpot my first time playing. No big deal. Whether you're in it for the fun, the wins, or the fantasy, Scatter Slots delivers it all. So what are you waiting for? Download it today and claim 12 million coins to jumpstart your adventure.
We need to get real about something. Shopping is not fun, especially clothes shopping. I hate going into a dressing room with 1,000,001 things hanging over my arm to try on. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's so annoying having to get in and out of all of these different items just to try them on. The mirror, that's a whole nother story. They're awful. And I end up, and I know you do too, liking nothing. Something's gotta give, and this is where Stitch Fix comes in. Stitch Fix makes clothes shopping so much easier. You get a personal stylist that sends you pieces that match your size, style, and everything's in your budget. No guesswork, no stress. Here's how it works. You take a quick style quiz, you share your size, your style and budget, and you get matched with a real human stylist who catches your vibe. It's no risk, all style. Get a personalized fix box straight to your door and try it all on in the comfort of your home. Shipping and returns are always free, and there's no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast. Back in 2018, I was looking for a vitamin regimen that I knew I could trust. That's why it was such a relief when my sister told me about Ritual. They're mom-founded and third-party tested for heavy metals and microbes. And what else really sold me was that you can see their sources and suppliers behind their key ingredients right there on their website. Besides the vitamins from Ritual that I take, they also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, from fertility support formulated to support conception outcomes to their essential prenatal and postnatal multi-options, which support key nutrient needs before, during, and after pregnancy. They also have their essential protein daily shake that's formulated specifically for pregnancy and postpartum. On top of all that, they also have their Symbiotic Plus that I take every single day along with my multivitamin. I love Ritual so much that I make sure all of my friends that are having babies and family planning turn to Ritual for their prenatal, pregnancy, and postpartum support. What's also really awesome about Ritual is how easy it is to take. Each capsule has this really cool delayed release design that makes it really gentle even on an empty stomach. Most importantly, it's third-party tested for allergens, microbes, and heavy metals. It's non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, and made traceable. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom Founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off.
In 1988, a small New Jersey town is shaken by horror. A devoted mother murdered, satanic symbols scattered throughout her home, and her teenage son vanished without a trace. Was this a demonic ritual or a calculated act of evil? Horror master Eli Roth unravels a terrifying truth in Let the Devil In. Now streaming new episodes Sundays exclusively on MGM+.
There were 40 to 50 a day. They were packed with threats, sexual taunts. They were gaslighting Lauren and Owen. And these text messages really had them questioning their sanity. Who could they trust? Was the texter saying things that were actually true? When you're 13 or 14 years old and someone's telling you you're ugly or you have a flat ass and they tell you every single day, it starts to get in your head.
Absolutely. And that's why the principal and Owen's mom, Jill, and Lauren's mom, Kendra, were all kind of trying to work together along with the police end up getting involved to figure out who this is, because it's starting to get disruptive within the community. Everybody knows this is going on. People are pointing fingers, especially at a girl that is Owen and Lauren's age named Chloe. And she's got a bit of an attitude, I'm not going to lie. She still does even in the documentary.
Yes.
But it really hurt her that people thought that she could be like this. And if I'm, correct in the history I've experienced, is people that are like that maybe have been hurt or have this wall up, but when you break it down, they're actually really sensitive people. So my guess is that this really hurt Chloe, especially when her friends even started questioning her, like, Chloe, is this you? Because everybody's probably actually, and this is more of a privileged standpoint, but they're starting to get probably pretty annoyed with this whole thing going on because they're getting pulled into the principal's office, being asked, are you doing this? Where were you? That kind of thing. Phones are being gone through by adults and parents
and school officials. And you did mention that Chloe was sort of looked at because she had a history of not necessarily bullying, but not nice behavior.
Kind of mean girl status. Again, I think it's more of that wall, that like tough girl wall, but like I'm sure she's hopefully a great person underneath it all. I bet she is.
I bet she is too. And you could see that sensitivity that she guards in the documentary. She does break down and cry at one moment during the documentary. And I just felt like, okay, I could see why people would suspect her. And it's important to note that Chloe's family was the one hosting the annual Halloween party that Lauren and Owen wanted to go to when these text messages initially started 11 months prior.
We should also note that Lauren was not invited to this Halloween party, but Owen was at this time. Owen said, hey, if I'm invited, Lauren's invited, so Lauren, you should come. So he's more thinking like, Lauren, you should just come with me or meet me there or whatever it was they decided at the time 5 years ago, but Lauren wasn't invited. So that really struck people.
And Owen was invited because Owen and Chloe's families grew up together. Like we have been saying, this is a small community. Everyone knows everyone. They've known each other all their lives. And so with Lauren and her family being a little bit more of a transplant outsider, they didn't have that history to be invited. But it was relayed later on in the documentary that Chloe's mother eventually did say, no, Lauren is also invited as well. So there was that. We don't know if it was in response to those initial text messages that were received, but it was said by the host of the party that, yes, Lauren can come and she's welcome.
Which I feel like any sane adult would do. Absolutely. And I will also say that when you meet Chloe's parents, you can see where she gets that sort of tough exterior. Her father's a police officer and her mom has a similar attitude, but they were just standing by their daughter. Like, no, like our daughter is not doing these texts and we are not going to hear that.
I wish we would have said this, and I just thought of it right now. When people were suspecting Chloe and pointing fingers at her, one of the instances they brought up was the fact that Owen's cousin, Adriana, who is in the same grade as them, was basically pelted with baby carrots by Chloe and a couple of her girlfriends. And they deny this, but Adriana later says, no, it did in fact happen. So you can kind of see the level of pettiness and immaturity that was happening in the class at the time.
It shows their age too, because this is such, I don't want to say adult situation because it's still an immature situation getting weird bullying texts like this, but it is. So the content of the text is kind of, more graphic and vile and adult, but the idea behind the situation is immature.
Yes. So
these carrots show their age. It shows just how young these kids,
it was age appropriate. If you, I don't want to say bullying is ever age appropriate, but
no, it's not surprising.
It's not surprising that they would do that. And I agree.
And it's awful. So Adriana, if you're listening, that was awful and you didn't deserve that.
No one deserves that. And you could tell that really affected her. And it touched me because as someone that was also bullied, I understood, what it was like to have something like that happen. Not that I had baby carrots thrown at me, but, kids are kids and they can be cruel. I also want to acknowledge that what you're saying about the text messages feeling a little bit mature, that's the first thing I thought. When I was reading the text messages that popped up on screen during the documentary as it aired, there were certain things where I just was like, there's no way a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, sorry, baby's making sounds. There's no way a 13 or 14-year-old is saying these things. It just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't think of them. They were nasty.
The whole thing wasn't making sense because Owen wanted to be with Lauren and he stayed with her during this whole time. So it made no sense that these messages kept lying too when it came to Owen, when they would mention him not wanting to be with her, or he wants this, or, like he's going to leave you. It just was so odd to me. Like, who is texting all of this stuff? And clearly they like Owen. I mean, that's what hit me immediately too. And I think that that's why they started to question if it was Chloe. There was a small questioning that it might be Adriana as well, because she had previously been bullied, that maybe she was acting out and becoming a bully. Again, hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
But it absolutely was not Adriana. And the only reason they wondered about if it was Adriana is because there is a picture near Christmas that gets sent of Christmas morning. It was probably sent that same day, of something Owen received
At his own family home, where the only people who were invited were obviously Owen's family and who is part of Owen's family, but Adriana, or I think Owen's family and family friends were there. So they knew everyone who was in their home, and it couldn't have been any of the other classmates that had been suspected up until that point.
With what you said, Natalie, it's important to discuss how they really only were looking at people kind of within their grade. But there were specifics being said that kind of backed this theory up, because things are happening when she's in a classroom that are very specific about that day during school, stuff that happens. There's references to
what she's wearing,
things like that somebody's looking at me right now. Are they in this class with me? That kind of thing.
They were even referencing conversations that were being had. So not only were Lauren's clothes dissected, but the conversations she had or friends had. And so it was really a question of who amongst us is the culprit? Who is this anonymous texter? Because we know that they're here. They're at least privy to all of this information. They've really infiltrated this community.
Yeah. And in the meantime, fingers are being pointed. Again, Adriana, Chloe, probably even more people that were not involved in the documentary. Everyone is being looked at, and this completely over the next year blows up and is quite the investigation in town. It's kind of consuming.
I mean, it's all consuming. There's parents on the school grounds constantly in the office trying to get to the bottom of things. They're communicating with the principal. There are officers involved, law enforcement outside of the school resource officer. And it's not just like the swarming effect of all these people involved on campus, but their mental health starts to crumble. Owen starts lashing out and becoming aggressive in basketball. Lauren really has difficulty hearing the things that she's being told because they're really horrific. And anybody who would be told something like that constantly on a day-to-day basis would react the same way.
They never got a break. And I really want to reiterate how many text messages a day were coming through. It was all day, all night. They're losing sleep. Their mental health was really taking a toll, not only because of the content, but again, their physical health was not going to be top notch because they're up all night trying to figure out who this is and not getting a break for a very long time until the investigation starts to lead towards access to an IP address that all of the text messages were coming from.
And they were only able to get to this point of accessing the IP address because they did eventually get a 3-letter agency involved, the FBI. And so they had a little bit more of a reach and a pool of being able to get things done.
And this is because it became a situation way beyond bullying, which, as we described, like 40, 50, 100 text messages a day that were not just harassment or harassing, but was felony stalking. Or was that what they called it, Natalie? Was it felony stalking?
They ended up labeling it stalking because clearly this person was around Lauren and was around Owen. They were very aware of their daily activities. So clearly they were following them somehow, some way.
Right. I knew they called it stalking, but there was a really, I want to say, like, choice word.
Yeah, no, it was
put
felony
in front of it, and it was felony. And that just tells you how bad this was. And to be honest, if we may break from the timeline for a moment, I felt like we were missing stuff the entire time I was watching. Like, I thought, of course, it was, a well-done documentary, but I really felt like we were missing pieces to the story. Like, that the story was so big that you could spend like 3 hours telling it, because that's how many text messages there were and how many little interesting, that comes from a privileged standpoint of not being a teenager going through this. So please bear with me with my words. But like, these scenarios that may be of interest to hear in the documentary is the better way to put it. There was so many of those that they could probably discuss and go on for hours and hours. But again, I think missing those moments kind of takes you out of the story and kind of unable to understand like the full scope of what was going on at this time and why they had to get the FBI involved and why the FBI wanted to be involved. Because Lord knows if the FBI is not interested, they're not going to help.
They certainly could have had this documentary be a couple of episodes because there, like you said, there were avenues that weren't necessarily explored that a lot of social media posters are exploring on their own. So it is really interesting to see what people are saying online as we find out who the culprit is. So this phone number that keeps coming up is traced back to one person. And the person that it ends up being is, I think everyone in the documentary saw it as a jaw-dropping betrayal.
It was. And what makes it even worse is that it took over 2 years to get here, because it takes until December 22, which, remember, this started in October 20 with that 11-month break until September 2021. But it takes until December 2022 till this IP address is led to our culprit, who was none other than
Kendra Licari, Lauren's mom. Honestly, can you imagine if your mom was your cyberbully? Like, it feels like it could be the plot to a novel or something.
It feels like a plot that you would only see
or in a
like
Lifetime movie,
a thriller or a Lifetime movie, or even a horror movie. It does not feel like you would ever hear a real story of someone's mom, not just sending them a weird text message, which is already off, hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands by this point, might even be tens of thousands, honestly, because of how often these text messages were coming through. But there's hundreds, thousands, whatever, of text messages for years.
Well, this is the woman who was going to the school every day to confront the superintendent and the principal and asking them why they weren't doing anything to protect her daughter, to protect her daughter's boyfriend. She was working alongside Owen's mom, Jill,
right,
trying to find out who the culprit was when she was living a double life. A double life, tearing down the person she should love the most and protect the most in this world, and tearing her to shreds.
By choice. Literally by choice. I do want to say that while it's creepy that she would do all this while standing beside her daughter and standing beside Jill, Owen's mom, at, the school meetings with the principal, probably school board meetings.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Zysol keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Zysol at night.
The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, onabotulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
A message from McAfee.
I'd say howdy, but I'm not a real cowboy.
And I'm not a real alien.
We're deep fakes, and because of fakes like us,
it's hard to tell what's real.
Unless you have McAfee. McAfee's scam detector automatically identifies text and email scams.
And even deep fakes.
And it works everywhere, even out on the range.
Yeehaw! But you're not even a real cowboy.
If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
Has arrived.
I would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate AI soldier.
He is biblically strong and supremely intelligent.
You think you're in control of this? You're not.
On October 10th.
What are you?
My world is coming to destroy yours, but I can help you.
The war for our world begins in IMAX. Tron Ares, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. Only in theaters October 10th. Get tickets now.
Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
Jill never really fully trusted Kendra. And that could be the outsider effect, but I believe that cut article, it was a TikTok that discusses that cut article that I did not take the time to read.
Well,
thank you, Natalie, for reading it.
You have to do a little bit of magic to get the full article if you didn't get it from a TikTok.
I do know how to do that on a Mac, and I do always feel guilty if I do it. But a lot of times, especially for researching, I might pay for it because you should. But I will probably end up reading it because the TikTok video I saw, and this is just last night, so that's why I just haven't taken the time yet. But it discusses how, you almost miss so much if you don't read the article from the cut, because they think that in order to do this documentary and have Kendra speak in it, which I don't think this woman's ever going to take an opportunity not to have attention on herself as any kind of like victim or poor me type role.
A narcissist.
So I think she was very excited to do it. But I think they thought if we're going to get her to talk, then, we have to not be super duper mean to her. And I think in a way that is the right thing to do, even though you just want to be like, you are psycho. I want nothing to do with you. We're going to make you look like the horrible person that you were at this time. But we also learn, and this is zero excuse, zero like points towards her at all, but it's just extremely important in terms of what may have gotten Kendra mentally to a point where she would do this to her daughter, which is so hard to understand. She had lost 2 jobs. She was living those 2 lives that you were talking about. She even had 2 different phones, I think, that she was like texting her daughter and Owen from, one of them. But she had 2 jobs and she lost both of them. And part of it was COVID, the reasoning that she lost it. But I think that she was just fired because also like behavior as well. So we don't totally learn why she was ever let go, whether some of it was layoff. Maybe one of them was because of behavior. We don't really know. We could probably guess weird behavior, but it was also COVID.
I think you're onto something, though. There was clearly a lot going on under the surface.
she was at a breaking point, which still makes it inappropriate, but yeah.
Absolutely. But even in the body cam footage, so the police do arrive with search warrants to Kendra and, well, the Licari home. So Kendra, where her husband and Lauren live. And in the body cam footage, you see them confront Kendra about the text messages. And she really doesn't put up a fight. She crumbles and essentially admits that, yes, she is responsible. But if you look in the background, beyond where Kendra is sitting, it's not super clear at first, but in the images, there is a kitchen table filled with alcohol bottles. And it's not just like a case. The entire top of the kitchen table is covered in alcohol. So that doesn't feel normal to me. So there clearly was some other issues at play here.
100%. She was not in her right mind. And you can tell when the husband comes home, Lauren's dad, he is also at a breaking point with her, much like the jobs were very likely and probably other things in her life that got her to this huge breaking point that maybe mentally she was also just predisposed to. Or should I say genetically or whatever? Like she may have had some predisposition to mental health issues, and then all of this stuff happening, she just wasn't equipped to handle it and got to this breaking point. And one of the sick things that brought her joy was these awful text messages to her daughter and Owen, and this obsession with Owen, because we kind of come to find out also that, while the dad's saying, all right, great, I'm done. It's very clear that he has had little inklings, but she's off traveling to Florida to watch Owen play. And she coached for a little bit and she was just too obsessed with him. And I think the Cut article, from what I hear, does a better job of explaining that too.
Nail on the head. She certainly had some fascination, attraction, or whatever you want to call it, to her daughter's 14-year-old boyfriend.
Sick.
But I do want to back up a little bit because you did mention the father's response, Lauren's father / Kendra's husband's response.
It was so immediate and just I'm done.
It was heartbreaking, and you could tell he had been through the ringer. This is a man who was called home by the police. You need to come home from work right now. He shows up and he's in the front yard, and this man is broken. You can just tell by the look on his face, like he's had enough. And we come to find out that as they're explaining what's happening, he says, all right, let's go in the house. He confronts Kendra and asks, so the job that you said you've had this whole time was a lie. You've been lying to me. And it turns out, yes, she was lying for a year, maybe more, that she had lost both jobs and didn't have any money coming in. And then he kind of gives a glimpse. We get like the tip of the iceberg of what's happening. But if you go online, you can find out what exactly all of it was. It turns out that because Kendra lost her job and didn't have money coming in, but because she was also the one handling all of the family's finances, she was able to convince everyone that they were hacked and didn't have money. So they were going from home to home to home. They had to foreclose on 2 homes. They lost all of their belongings. This is a man that works hours, like almost, 12 hours a day as a mechanic, working to try and put food on the table and support his wife and daughter, thinking that, him and his wife are a team trying to survive this hardship. And it turns out she's been lying and she hasn't been working. Instead, she is texting and harassing their only child, telling her to kill herself, showing up in the school parking lot to use their Wi-Fi and text from that Wi-Fi, use that IP address. It's just so bizarre the lengths that this woman went to conceal what she was doing.
Oh yeah, she would be spotted in the high school parking lot, like you said, trying to get that Wi-Fi or just
near Owen
in the area and near Owen and her daughter. Like she wanted to insert herself even more, but couldn't because she didn't have a cloak of invisibility. So she had to just do that by being as close as she could. What I found most interesting, but honestly didn't surprise me as other people making commentary, that Lauren still wants or wanted to have a relationship with her mom. They spoke a lot while her mom was in jail. Kendra did end up serving like a year in prison?
She was supposed to serve up to like 5 years, but I think she served a little more than a year.
And that's not surprising. That happens all the time. Good behavior, time served, et cetera, et cetera.
And then she's on supervision until like next year, 2026.
And now that her mom is out of prison, it seems like Lauren almost doesn't get to talk to her as much as she did while she was in prison, because she is with her dad and her dad doesn't want her talking to her mom. And now that her mom is out, it seems like there's just not as much access that she has to her with supervised visitation or things like that.
To come in contact with each other, like in person, I believe is what Lauren said.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also see a distinction in the two interviews that were done of Lauren. So in the documentary, there is one interview of Lauren. She's in her pink bedroom, and it's clear that it was taken during the time that maybe the trial was happening. So it's still very fresh. She's just learned that her mom was the ultimate bully. Her mom basically told her to kill herself hundreds of times. Her mom was in love with her boyfriend. And despite all of that, you can tell it's such a complicated relationship that she even says, like, I love my mom more than anything. Like, she can't let go of who she thought her mom was versus who her mom actually is. And then there's a second interview where we see she does look older. Her hair is even different. She's sitting at a kitchen table. She's wearing a gray sweater, and she has a little bit more clarity, maybe perhaps because time has passed.
Maybe therapy or at least support. And
she's older.
Those people around her explaining things and becoming older, understanding the gravity of what actually did happen. I feel like kids are very resilient and easy to forgive their abusers. And I feel like the closer she gets to adulthood, which she may be 18 by now, I would believe. It seems like they were born around 2006. So she's probably 18 going on 19 now. Whereas, right, if that's a more updated interview within the last year, she's much more coming into her own as a young adult. And you would be a lot different.
You can tell that in just what she says about her mom at that point.
Mm-hmm.
In that interview, she says and acknowledges that her and her mom have a complicated relationship, and she's not sure she'll ever be able to trust her mom. So I feel like there's a very distinct shift that happens from the pink bedroom interview to the kitchen table gray sweater interview.
Yes, and it almost... Not that I need to be pleased in any way. That's not Lauren's job. That's not any of the people putting the documentary on's job. But I was almost displeased that that wasn't acknowledged in any single way, not even with like a year marker of the time. We have to like assume these things on our own. And there's just a lot of that uncomfortability and tension that this documentary does build. You are left questioning the way that the community was questioning.
It's also important to point out that, yes, this is also a documentary done for entertainment purposes, right? So it makes sense that maybe they wouldn't acknowledge the two different interviews and the shift that happened between when she was 14 and did the initial interview and the final interview.
Again, I think they wanted to also leave us with the same amount of questions and tension that the community had at the time that this was going on. So that could also be a choice there. And you said it perfectly. While the family was involved and Lauren is there telling her own story as a survivor of this abuse and felony stalking case, it was entertainment. And so I do hope that this documentary serves Lauren. And Chloe seems to have been very affected too by everything she went through, being so heavily accused. So I hope that while they're still young, that this documentary does serve like a good purpose for them and not end up with their story just being entertainment that gets buried in a year or two when the next big one, or let's be real, 4 months when the next big one comes out, you know?
I absolutely agree. And as I'm thinking about this documentary, and all the things we're discussing, I think one of the big questions of it as we watch throughout I think it's like 80 minutes or something, throughout the 80 minutes where we have one question on our mind after we find out who is responsible. Once we find out it's Kendra, the next question that at least popped into my mind was why? Why is she doing this? And we never really get to the bottom of why. She doesn't really tell us. She cites past trauma. She says that she was sexually assaulted as a teenager. And when Lauren started getting close to that age, she had these traumas reignited. She had fears. She spiraled into control and wanted to protect her daughter. So she traumatized her own daughter as a sort of protection. But then
I roll at that.
Obviously,
big
I mean,
time.
she was like smirking the entire time she was saying that. She didn't feel sincere.
I believe. Now, listen, I'm not saying I don't believe or do believe her sexual assault situation, but what I roll at is the protection part of that. Oh, I just wanted to protect my daughter so that didn't happen to her. So did you not trust Owen? Because you were pretty obsessed with him, apparently. I lean more towards what the principal said, especially coming from a psych background and counseling background. I think this was kind of Munchausen-y, if you will. I think she was getting off a lot on the attention that was coming to the family. It could be a bit by proxy because Lauren was getting the attention, but she was kind of getting the attention too because she was the mom. Like, oh, what are you doing? How can we help as a community? You and Jill's family is like, how can we help? So I think she was getting attention too. But yeah, so this is like Munchausen's involved. I mean, I am not certified in that particular area to fully diagnose, but I'm more so when the principal says that inclined to believe or kind of agree with him, so to speak.
You may be onto something though, or both of you may be onto something, because even the emotional dependence that Lauren eventually has with her mom because of everything going on, Kendra feeds off of it, it seems like.
Yes, absolutely. And that's another thing that's probably mentioned. So I hear more in the Cut article than even in the documentary. It's mentioned in the documentary that they had this really tight bond, but I think the article supposedly does a much better job of explaining what their relationship was like and why Lauren in the pink bedroom was much more inclined to be like, I still love her and I'm going to forgive her. And that's also what you're taught as a child too, right? You're more resilient. You're more likely to forgive your abuser. And then you get older and you realize how effed it is that they would do that to a literal child, because the difference between 14 and 18 is a huge, huge difference. It's not like the difference between, 28 and 32, which doesn't have a big difference, right? For example. So anyways, that's her being able to grow up pretty quickly in the last, 5 years. So, but this is a great watch. And if you let us be your spoiler, thanks for listening. If you came back after pausing, watching to listen to the commentary and join the conversation with us, thank you so much for being here. We love doing these unscripted episodes every Monday. So we'll be back next Monday with another one. But in between, on Thursday, check out our case coverage because, as you know, every Thursday we have true crime and every Monday is unscripted. So 2 episodes every week. And we thank you so much for listening. Bye.
I think we can all agree that feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. It's backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If you're prescribed, you can get medication as a part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. There aren't any hidden fees, and there are no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid up front. This isn't cookie-cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit forhers.com/diaries to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/diaries. forhers.com/diaries. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. Hey everyone, it's Natalie. And if you're anything like me and Paige, you need a way to unwind after diving into all of the heavy cases we cover every week. And lately, I've found the perfect escape. It's a mobile game called Scatter Slots, and I've honestly been loving it. Now I know what you're thinking, another slot game, but this one is completely different. Scatter Slots blends dark fantasy, rich storytelling, and gorgeous visuals to create an experience that feels way more like an adventure than a typical game. You play through a map, unlocking these really detailed slot worlds along the way, and each one has its own theme and vibe. And don't get me started on the graphics. So beautiful. I actually caught myself turning the volume up just to hear the music and sound effects. It's that immersive. It's also super easy to jump in and play for a few minutes, whether you're on your lunch break, waiting to pick up the kids, or just need a moment to yourself after a long day. And yes, I did win a mini jackpot my first time playing. No big deal. Whether you're in it for the fun, the wins, or the fantasy, Scatter Slots delivers it all. So what are you waiting for? Download it today and claim 12 million coins to jumpstart your adventure.
We need to get real about something. Shopping is not fun, especially clothes shopping. I hate going into a dressing room with 1,000,001 things hanging over my arm to try on. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's so annoying having to get in and out of all of these different items just to try them on. The mirror, that's a whole nother story. They're awful. And I end up, and I know you do too, liking nothing. Something's gotta give, and this is where Stitch Fix comes in. Stitch Fix makes clothes shopping so much easier. You get a personal stylist that sends you pieces that match your size, style, and everything's in your budget. No guesswork, no stress. Here's how it works. You take a quick style quiz, you share your size, your style and budget, and you get matched with a real human stylist who catches your vibe. It's no risk, all style. Get a personalized fix box straight to your door and try it all on in the comfort of your home. Shipping and returns are always free, and there's no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast. Back in 2018, I was looking for a vitamin regimen that I knew I could trust. That's why it was such a relief when my sister told me about Ritual. They're mom-founded and third-party tested for heavy metals and microbes. And what else really sold me was that you can see their sources and suppliers behind their key ingredients right there on their website. Besides the vitamins from Ritual that I take, they also offer tailored nutrient support for key phases of pregnancy, from fertility support formulated to support conception outcomes to their essential prenatal and postnatal multi-options, which support key nutrient needs before, during, and after pregnancy. They also have their essential protein daily shake that's formulated specifically for pregnancy and postpartum. On top of all that, they also have their Symbiotic Plus that I take every single day along with my multivitamin. I love Ritual so much that I make sure all of my friends that are having babies and family planning turn to Ritual for their prenatal, pregnancy, and postpartum support. What's also really awesome about Ritual is how easy it is to take. Each capsule has this really cool delayed release design that makes it really gentle even on an empty stomach. Most importantly, it's third-party tested for allergens, microbes, and heavy metals. It's non-GMO, project verified, gluten and major allergen free, and made traceable. When it comes to pregnancy and postpartum support, you want products backed by research and transparency. Mom Founded Ritual puts in the work and shows you the proof. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/diaries. That's ritual.com/diaries for 25% off.